What's going on, everyone? The Los Angeles Lakers are being reported as the number one destination for Kyrie Irving if he is to leave the Brooklyn Nets. Now, how the Lakers would acquire Kyrie Irving is up to Kyrie Irving, really. I mean, very likely it won't be a sign and trade, because if they do a sign and trade, well, then it becomes an issue because of the hard cap. So Kyrie could opt in and then force his trade, kind of like, hey, I'll opt in, but only if you trade me. And then the Nets work out a deal with the Lakers, likely swap Westbrook, couple pieces, things like that, assuming Kyrie says that's the only place I want to go. Another option, which is being heavily rumored and reported, which is kind of funny because I did a video on this very idea, which was that Kyrie could opt out and then sign for the taxpayer mid-level, which be about $6 million. Just sounds like an extremely Kyrie Irving thing to do. But let's go under the assumption that that's what Kyrie does, right? Let's say he does opt out and sign with the Lakers on the taxpayer mid-level exception. What do the Lakers do from there, right? Because that would open up all kinds of possibilities for the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Primarily, like, they still have vet minimum contracts that they could go and sign. You still have a guy named Russell Westbrook that you can use to go trade, things like that. And now, obviously, the immediate route for people is like, oh, trade Russell Westbrook, go get some pieces to build around, your core three of, LeBron, AD, and Kyrie Irving. That makes the most sense. But just throwing it out there, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What if they were to keep Russell Westbrook? And I know right now you're probably thinking like, no, that makes no sense. Why would they do that? Well, there's a multitude of reasons, honestly. Well, first off, Kyrie is going to take, the taxpayer mid-level for $6 million, but he's not going to do that forever. So the problem is, if you go and take some long-term contracts on your books to supplement Westbrook's, salary, then you are eliminating a lot of the cap space you need to go and sign Kyrie Irving the following season. Let's say that they win a championship, right? Well, is Kyrie really going to take a, vet minimum or, another taxpayer again? Yeah, LeBron James could take a pay cut. LeBron would be a free agent after this season, so maybe he finds a way to work it out so that Kyrie can come on board again and get a bigger deal. But LeBron has always stated that he's not going to take a pay cut. Now, granted, circumstances could change things, so maybe LeBron does do that. But even if he does, he'd have to make a substantial pay cut. Because right now, just as the Lakers lay, right, after this season, they essentially have nobody but like Anthony Davis on their books as of right now. Now, obviously, they'll probably re-sign Reeves and, Stanley Johnson, Wendy Gabriel, their second round draft picks, things like that. So, yeah, of course, there will be other players. But just right now, after this season, the Lakers have essentially clean books. And then you could make a deal with LeBron, whatever. Obviously, if you were to get Kyrie Irving, you can't extend LeBron James because that essentially takes away all your cap for Kyrie. So LeBron would actually have to become a free agent, and then he would re-sign with the Lakers. So the thing is that if you keep Russell Westbrook, then you have all of his cap that falls off the books. You have $47 million. And then after that, you again are essentially completely clean from the books outside of Anthony Davis. So now you can sign Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and maybe even several other players to kind of build around those three. And maybe if you, let's say you did win a championship next year, right? Well, maybe you can get the pieces you need to put around these three to go win a championship. Or, if they did win a championship, you can kind of retool. Okay, well, these pieces work. Let's re-sign them. And then let's go get, these other 2-3 guys that really kind of keep us in contention. It's a real possibility. Now, the problem is, and of course, if you keep Russell Westbrook, it becomes a fit. Westbrook, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kyrie Irving. Like, there's only one ball. That's a big issue. All of these things. But Russell Westbrook has, so far, based on what he said, and even his actions, showing up to the press with Darvin Ham, things like that, they have sort of established to him, your role this year is to play defense and play the, 1 in, 4 out offense and then get into the flow of things. I'm sure Westbrook will get his touches. I'm sure he will, put up some points and stuff. But he's the one that seems to likely going to have to make the biggest sacrifice on this team already. Now, you add a Kyrie Irving, right? you need to have that reliability, because the big issue is yeah, Kyrie's great, but how many games is he really going to play? You got to imagine he's probably going to miss 20 games at least this season. LeBron's going to miss 20 games this season. Anthony Davis is probably going to miss 20 games this season. The one thing that the Nets had an issue with was that since the moment they signed Kyrie Irving, he was unreliable. He wasn't able to play consistently. So wouldn't it be beneficial to have that one guy that can really, sort of drive things, and you can make it work? Yeah, you likely have to start all four, and maybe go get a center or another wing, something like that. Davis plays the 5, LeBron plays the 4, Westbrook and Kyrie play the, 1 and 2, and then you have, your wing player. Let's say it's Stanley Johnson, something like that, right? That's your starting 5. Now, the other thing is Kyrie Irving has stated, hey, I'll play shooting guard, you play point guard with James Harden. So, yes, it makes the most sense to go and trade Westbrook. Like, say the Hornets deal, right? You go get Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. And now you have a starting 5 of, let's say, Kyrie, Rozier, Hayward, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. Or you could kind of, play Stanley Johnson or Austin Reeves, somebody like that for like defense. Because with Kyrie, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, you have the scoring needed. Now, if you were to do that trade, though, you're taking on $100 million in salary over the next several years. So how are you going to be able to re-sign LeBron and re-sign Kyrie Irving? But if you keep Russell Westbrook, or you trade him to just clear cap, maybe take back a couple expiring contracts, give up some draft picks, something like that. But the Lakers haven't really seemed too on board with something like that. And if you keep Russell Westbrook and he really does buy it, and he's like, okay, I will be that. I'll use my energy on the defensive end. I will be that guy that, buys into the 1 in, 4 out. Well, if you have Kyrie Irving, he's about as good of an out as you can get. LeBron James' shooting has incredibly improved, right? You have Anthony Davis, who can knock down shots. Hopefully he gets back into shooting like the bubble shooter that we saw with Anthony Davis. He's working with the lethal shooter once again. So hopefully that's a good sign that he's very likely going to, take that next step into being a quality shooter. You could have Westbrook as your 1 in. Kyrie, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and then, let's say an Austin Reeves or something like that as your out. You can make it work. It just depends on how much is Westbrook going to be willing to sacrifice. And he showed he was willing to sacrifice a lot. And I do think the big issue is last year was, of course, Russell Westbrook, he's not completely exonerated of fault. He made a lot of issues. But Frank Vogel didn't put him in a lot of positions for success. How many times was Russell Westbrook just relegated to the corner to sit there as a spot-up shooter when he's not? How many times do we see LeBron, Westbrook, and even Rondo or THT on the court at the same time? You got 3 guys that are the exact same thing. Now, you let Westbrook kind of just bring the ball up, initiate the offense. You got LeBron James, who is so smart, so incredible. He can fit and mold into anything. You let Kyrie be your, kind of scorer in bunches, right? He can be your, spurt guy. You have Anthony Davis as your low post guy that can knock down the outside shot. You can make it work. It would take a ton of sacrifice. Don't get me wrong. But, look at the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. That took a ton of sacrifice. KD, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Even this year, you had Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. Teams have talent and guys like this. Right? And the big problem with Westbrook is that it was just clunky. But if you run the 1 in, 4 out offense, that's going to help Westbrook in many ways. But beyond that, you have him as your one reliable guy this season. And hopefully you always have a LeBron and Westbrook, a Kyrie and Westbrook, a AD and Westbrook. Hopefully Westbrook is the guy that's playing 82 games a year, because everyone else is going to miss 20 games. And hopefully, you at least have one of the other guys playing when the other guys are taking off. It just gives you that stability. It gives you that one constant. And then the games where, say LeBron and Anthony Davis sit out, go let Westbrook be Westbrook. I need you to go get me 30 today. And I need you to get me 10 assists, and 5 of them need to be to Kyrie and stuff. And you can interchange them. Not just that, but you can always have a guard on the court. I mean, think about that. You could always have Westbrook, Kyrie, or LeBron on the court at all times. And that has been the biggest issue, right? LeBron having to be the primary ball handler. And the whole point of going and getting Westbrook was to get that reliable guy that could take the ball out of LeBron's hands. So that way LeBron doesn't have to play the point guard all the time. You can play point guard all the time. Like you can run AD, Kyrie, and LeBron. You can run Westbrook, LeBron, and AD. You can run Kyrie, and Westbrook. Like you have all these interchangeable pieces. Comes down to sacrifice. Not just that, but there's a lot of questions with Kyrie and how dependable he will be. So having Westbrook kind of gives you that sense of security of like, okay, we were going to try to make this work. We signed Kyrie Irving. Can we make it work? Worst case scenario, you can always move Westbrook at the trade deadline. Kyrie, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Westbrook are at least going to be in playoff contention. Even if it is a terrible fit, they just have too much talent to not be in, at least playoff contention. So you try to make it work. If it doesn't work, okay, we'll trade Westbrook at the deadline and recoup what we can get. And then you're in the same boat you'd be going into the season. But if you keep Westbrook, you have that constant. You have that security blanket you need, which is what the ultimate goal was. I just think Westbrook never really, he never bought into Frank Vogel. That was abundantly clear, right? I mean, he vocalized that, and he really believes in Darvin Ham. He's really buying into Darvin Ham. Why not give Westbrook an opportunity? Why not give Westbrook a chance to prove that? You're going to miss LeBron, you're going to miss Kyrie, and you're going to miss AD at least 20 plus games a season, right? So why not have that guy that can kind of be the 82 game guy, and he has to make the sacrifices, but that was the big thing, right? Sacrifice. LeBron's only getting older, right? It would be super beneficial for him to have two guys in Westbrook and Kyrie that can kind of just, take the burden, take the pressure off of him. You can always run when LeBron leaves the court, you have Kyrie or you have Westbrook. AD leaves the court, you have Kyrie, you have Westbrook. You interchange them, AD, Kyrie, Westbrook, Kyrie, Westbrook, AD, LeBron, Kyrie, LeBron, AD, you have this just different combinations that could work. I'm not saying this is a good idea. I'm not saying that this would work. I'm not saying anything. It's just a thought. It's just something that I think is really interesting and at least worth exploring, because it would be also super beneficial for Russell Westbrook's contract to fall off. So you have the cap flexibility to re-sign Kyrie if that core three works. And then one last thing that I just want to say, and then I'll pass the question on to you, is if it works, for whatever reason, let's say it does work, and Westbrook buys in and he is that guy, then you can always re-sign him. Sign him for the mid-level, or biannual or something like that. And then sign Kyrie to the max, or maybe they all take a pay cut to stay there because Westbrook wants to stay home. So maybe he takes the hometown discount, something along those lines, because he's never going to get another $30 million plus contract. He's likely, best case scenario, looking at like 15 to 20 million. Maybe you take like 12 million to stay with the Lakers. Kyrie gets like, 20 million, to stay with the Lakers. LeBron takes like 20 million, and then there you go. Something along those lines. But anyway, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think of this? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it something that you think why not try? What does it hurt to try? Or do you think, no, there's no way this is going to work. There's no way it's going to make sense. I wouldn't even try it. I wouldn't even worry about it. Just get rid of Westbrook. I understand the argument both ways. Like I said, I'm not saying that this is what I want to happen. It's not saying that I think it'll happen. Nothing like that. It's just a thought. It's just an interesting thought that I figured why not explore. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.